Our guest in the studio joins us on most Wednesday mornings. Occasionally we have a couple of other people in here with him, and sometimes we alternate members of his office who come in and chat with us. Dr. Jonathan Tripp from Tripp Family Medicine on the air with us until 9 o'clock this morning. I should point out, too, if you have a question or comment for him while he's here, won't cost you anything. It's 736-0300, 736-0300, 49 at Top Story with Bill Colley, 8:34 this morning. First of all, Doctor, welcome back.
Thank you. And, when you say it won't cost them anything, we do take baked goods and chickens and all kinds of stuff in trade. So
we were just having an off-air conversation about one of your favorite bakeries.
Yep. Yeah, grew up around the Philadelphia area, and there's lots of good bakeries there. That's a lot of fun.
You have a lot to talk about today.
I do. Last week, if you were listening, was a pretty sober discussion about silent killers. And I got done with that show, went to my office and said, that wasn't a lot of fun. It is serious medicine, and that's what we're about. But today we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk mainly about skin-related things. We do have very serious skin diseases, including cancers, a lot of sun damage. But today we're going to focus mainly on kind of the skin rejuvenation, how to look younger, what works, what doesn't, and is it good for your skin? Is it healthy, or does it just make you look like Joan Rivers and Wayne Newton? And so we're going to try to avoid the Joan Rivers and Wayne Newton treatments because we don't do plastic surgery. But if you want to look a few years younger, we've got some fun things. So we're going to talk about those.
Of course, now with skin, we're getting to that time of year too where people will be out in the sun more often.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of the treatment. Is avoiding lots of sun damage. Lots of us grew up with the baby oil, staying out, even adding iodine to darken the skin. And a lot of people I see in my office are paying that price, both in the way of skin cancer and just ugly age spots that they don't like, and say, well, this is the price I pay. And I'm here to tell you that that is true. And there are things we can do to make them look better or get rid of them altogether. But the single best thing we can do is do it using our sunscreen, blocking appropriately with hats, with appropriate clothing. Because you take the person that's had mild to moderate sun exposure versus the severe sun exposure, and there's a distinct age look difference by the time they hit 40 or 50.
Yeah, I had a friend I worked with, and she was out in the sun all the time when she was in her 20s. My early 40s, wrinkles all over her forehead, and I had none of that in the same age range. And yeah, even with the age spots, is that caused directly by the sun, or is that just natural?
It's a combination. Sun is absolutely a contributor, but there is a hereditary component, especially the spots that are called seborrheic keratoses. Not that anybody listening knows that word, but those are what most people call an age wart, age spot. They're usually raised kind of rough. And as a 90-year-old patient told me, he says, these are the barnacles of life.
Yes.
So those are hereditary more than sun damage. But we have ways we can get rid of all of them, and at least for the most part. There are some things that we can't, but for the most part, they are treatable.
It's cosmetic, because most of these aren't dangerous, right?
Well, that's the hard part, is people often come in and are asking me about something that I know is completely benign, although it's an ugly, and yet I'm looking at their skin and I find something that they didn't even pay attention to, small and flat, but very dark brown or black, and all of a sudden I'm worried about melanoma. And so we do talk about anything that changes in size, in shape, in color, especially if you get blues or black colors or varied colors within a single lesion. All of those are reasons to say, go get it looked at. Come see us, let us take a look. And often we say, hey, this is not a worry. And then it's really a discussion of, do you want to pay to get rid of this, or are you just making sure you don't have cancer? Because we do both. And that's been the fun side for me. This practice has been primarily medicine-oriented. We have not even hardly talked about our cosmetic side. But let me give you a little background on me. My training is true family medicine residency training. A lot of that for me in electives was in dermatology, so that's an area I like and do well at. However, once I got into my first practice in Texas, that developed into where we got into more and more cosmetics. We got into lasers, and then I moved to the Phoenix area near Scottsdale and did purely cosmetic practice. I became what I call now a foo-foo doctor. In fact, my license plate said laser doctor, so you can tell I went to the full cosmetic side. And that was a lot of fun, but I also had the opportunity to speak for one of the national laser manufacturers. And they flew me all over the U.S. and Canada to speak to other doctors about the uses of lasers. So this is an area that I have a lot of background and a lot of familiarity with. But when we opened our practice here, we almost hid that so that it wasn't confusing to the patients as to what kind of medicine do we do. Because truly, we see newborns on up, but the skin and the cosmetics have kind of crept out. People are finding out that we do them, and it's mainly by word of mouth that has grown.
We've got more with Dr. Jonathan Tripp on the way in just a couple of minutes. 48 at our studios. It's 8:40. This is Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. And, of course, with Bill Colley on Top Story. And, of course, your telephone calls, too, as well, if you have a question or comment for the doctor on the way. Dr. Jonathan Tripp joining us in studio this morning. Coming up on 8:43 at 49 at our studios at the moment anyway, at least outside. It's considerably warmer inside. We're not complaining about that. And this is News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. We call it Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine between 8:30 and 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. This is also Top Story with Bill Colley. And if you have a question or comment for the doctor, you can reach us at 736-0300. You wanted to talk a little bit about treatment for some of these various skin ailments.
Yeah, we have, I no longer have lasers, so I don't want to advertise that I'm the laser doctor anymore. They have their own mortgage that goes with those, but we have some more basic treatments that are old, tried and true, and they range from things as simple as freezing lesions, like people are familiar with having their warts frozen. Similar, lighter version of that freezing can be used to get rid of brown spots. We use that every day in our office to get rid of precancers. So there's a lot of things that are truly precancer or cancerous that we can use what's called cryotherapy or freezing to get rid of lesions that we know are a threat. But it can also be used to get rid of a lot of the what I call the brown uglies that people talk about as age spots and whatnot. And if you only have a few, you think, hey, what's the difference? But it's interesting. You get rid of a few, and it does take years off of how your skin looks. So freezing is one. We do some cosmetic treatments. One is called microresurfacing. Some people are familiar with microdermabrasion. The difference is the microresurfacing is using a nylon-type brush that essentially scrapes off the top layers of the skin using a vacuum system, and it feels like a very nice massage as there's no pain with it whatsoever. That's a lot of fun because you have immediate results and people feel like, wow, I already can tell my face is smoother, but that's only the beginning of that treatment.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. My dad, when he was in the Army, got some tattoos. He had a great big wolf's head on one bicep. Then he had another tattoo on a forearm and a skull and crossbones on the back of a hand. And from that, when he got out of the Army, he was embarrassed by what he had done. He would wear long sleeve shirts even on hot days. And when he would go for job interviews, he told me he always held one hand over the top of his other hand so they couldn't see the tattoo. A lot of people are getting these done, but as they grow older, a lot of these things are going to also
haunt them.
And sometimes they will change too as well. They don't keep that look, that fresh look.
Yeah, when you have great biceps and great pectoralis muscles, so everything looks great. When they don't look so great 20 years later, neither does the tattoo. So that's people that are getting tattoos, that's a conversation that they won't even listen to at the moment. But those that do want to get rid of them, there are some lasers, and probably the best that I know of is called a Q-switched YAG laser, and it is one that I don't even know if we really have available in Twin Falls, but there are lasers that are more effective than others, and it's a lot harder to get rid of than it is to get it. So
you can probably find it in a place like Salt Lake City, though, or somewhere like that.
For sure, even Boise. And so these are Tattoo removal is much more available, but it'll take you about 10 treatments to get rid of a tattoo, and they have gotten better with the lasers that are current in getting rid of various colors early on. We could only get rid of the basic green and grays of tattoos, but now pretty much every color can be. And you may end up with a scar in place of the tattoo, so it's not a perfect answer.
We have a caller with us. You're on the air with Dr. Jonathan Tripp on Better Health on News Radio 1310 KLIX. Ooh, we've got one of those outer space calls.
All right.
Want to mention the telephone number if you'd like to reach the doctor this morning, 736-0300, 736-0300. We should also point out that people sometimes, because they're driving, and I don't have one of those hands-free devices, if they hear something they can't chime in during the course of the show, they want to reach you at the office. How do they go about doing that?
Well, let's do a phone number. It is 208-733. I'm sorry, I lied. That's not my number. 208-933-4400. So 933-4400. You can also reach us on our website at trippfamilymedicine.com or on Facebook at Tripp Family Medicine. So all of those are great ways to reach us. The other thing that we very commonly do are called chemical peels. And traditionally, chemical peels, people really had their facial skin sloughing and had to hide for weeks at a time. Most of what we do in our office, you'll never even know it's being done. In fact, I have women that will come in just prior to lunch, go back to work after lunch, and nobody even knows that they've ever done a chemical peel. So it's more subtle. It's what I call cleanup, and it is really very effective. I have a product line that I use that's 60 years old, so it's very safe, tried and true, and a lot of fun. I can usually look at somebody's face and tell them what to expect within about a month to 6 weeks.
We have a caller with us. You're on the air with the doctor on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick testimonial. A couple of years ago, I went out to the health fair that they have out at CSI every year and to get a couple of moles checked out, and they turned out to be nothing. But the dermatologist's assistant said, "Well, what's that little red dot on your forehead?" And it was about the size of a pencil eraser. And I said, "Well, it just comes and goes and gets a little flaky, and then I'll put some cortisone cream on it, and it almost goes away, but then it comes back." And I never thought anything about that one because it seemed to be under control, but that was the one that was cancerous, and I ended up having about a nickel-size area cut out with the Mohs. I think they call it the Mohs system. And so, yeah, these little things that you think really aren't anything, especially the ones that get crusty and red, they're actually the ones you really need to worry about.
I really appreciate that comment. That testimonial is absolutely accurate because frequently I'm giving that same speech about, we look at the big, bad, colored, raised lesions and skip the little scaly kind of red things. And I have some of these precancers, what you had probably developed into a squamous cell cancer or maybe basal cell. But the truth is if you have a little flaky skin that keeps coming back after you peel it off, that's one to get taken care of.
We have another caller with us. You're on the air with Dr. Jonathan Tripp from Tripp Family Medicine on Better Health on newsradio1310.com. What's on your mind?
Good morning. My name is Vanessa. I just wanted to call in, and I'm so excited that you found the hidden gem in the Magic Valley for skincare.
Ooh, I like that testimonial.
Right.
If I understand who Vanessa is, she is a patient, and we love her to death.
Yes, I am.
So tell me about the hidden gem. What's such a hidden gem for you about our practice?
Well, first of all, the busy moms and business owners in the community, I absolutely love that it doesn't matter if I have the flu or need some microdermabrasion, I can walk across and visit you.
That's awesome. We have a lot of moms that are surprised that, they can come in for their kid's well child check and do a chemical peel at the same time, and everybody walks out with a sucker at least. So it's a good experience. And so are you at liberty to tell us a little bit about what you have done and what you've had good experience with?
I don't know, Dr. Tripp. I'm pretty shy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, absolutely. So I have had everything in that office from I'm 30-something years old. That's about all I'm going to say.
I thought you were 26.
Well, I know. That's because you take such good care of my skin.
Okay. All right. That's good.
But I have acne-prone skin, and I see Dr. Tripp for everything, microdermabrasion, but he also works with my skin as far as prescription medications for my acne. And I've even had a round or two of Botox in his office, so I've had it all.
That's excellent. Thanks for letting us know, because the truth is we have a lot of people that now know that we do things like Botox, we do the chemical peels, we take care of acne, but most don't, because we don't hardly advertise that at all. And so this is a new area for the area, for the people and patients of the area to even know that this is a resource. So it's a lot of fun. Vanessa's been a lot of fun for us because she's seen results with her acne improve. I definitely tell people it will improve, but I'm not curing your acne. Yeah, we use techniques that are non-threatening, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun to see how the skin improves, not only the acne, but the surface of the skin. Let me talk a little bit about how the skin does actually change when we do these treatments. The skin, as we age, thins both from the upper layer, which is called the epidermis, and the bigger lower layer, its support layer, is called the dermis. The epidermis is comprised of several columns of cells that grow from the dermis upward. The dermis itself is more of a matrix of cells, including collagen, elastin, and even a group of cells called fibroblasts. And I use the analogy of a quilt with batting material, that if your batting material gets thinned out in a certain area or pulled out, that quilt becomes much more thin and wrinkly, if you will. That's what the skin does. So if you put more batting material in, it fills that up, smooths out the surface, and it isn't just a simple matter of putting fillers in, which is a possibility, but actually irritating that lower layer that it fills itself. And this works well for whether we're doing acne or whether we're doing skin on an 80-year-old that has skin tears all the time from brushing up against their furniture. And so the treatments that we use sometimes are really practical, like for the skin tears, but that same effect on your face smooths out the face and exfoliates the top layer so that it becomes not only smoother, but has a shine that I call, a healthy glisten. It's not oily. And this is something that almost anybody over 30-something will take off several years of the look of their skin. So it's a lot of fun. It's one that just everybody walks away happy. Within about a month to 6 weeks, they know, hey, I'm on a track I really like.
We have a caller with us, I believe. And caller, I want to thank you. We'll try I think they moved over to another line. You're on the air with Dr. Jonathan Tripp. It's 8:55 on News Radio 1310 KLIX, and this is Better Health. And what's on your mind?
Hey, just got dropped. This is Vanessa. I just wanted to say thanks for having me, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your morning.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. We always are welcoming to people who want to chime in on the program. I have a question. I had chickenpox when I was younger, and I still have a couple of the scars. Is there a way to improve people? Some people, of course, have really had a rough time with that. Is there a way to improve the skin quality when that happens?
There is, and I like your word improve, because for someone to say we can remove the scars almost is not true. There is one technique called a CO2 laser, or carbon dioxide laser, that literally takes off all of the skin of your face down to the dermis, and then it regrows, and it takes about a 3-month recovery process. That actually will change the scars. The type of things that I do and other, quote, laser treatments are actually thickening that dermal layer so it supports from underneath, makes the scar more shallow, and with exfoliation technique, whether it's chemical or mechanical on the surface, again, takes the top of the scar down so it appears smaller, more shallow, and that's true for pore size. A lot of people say, oh, my pores look so much smaller, and they do look smaller, but we didn't really change the basis of the scar or the pore. So yes, it can be improved, but to tell somebody, oh, we'll get rid of all your scars, unless it's a CO2 laser, is probably not the real case.
And again, to try to that other procedure for 3 months, a lot of people don't want to show their face. And
no, they literally have open wound, oozing skin. They have to hide for 30 days at a minimum, and then they have what looks like a recovering road rash scar, on their face for about another 2 months before they really look kind of normal again. But it's dramatic, and if it's done with good hands, then under good technique, it turns out great. Very expensive and a lot of time, a lot of downtime. But if it's done with poorly done, which I've seen in my cosmetic practice, I had a lady come in who had literally had vertical stripes on her forehead and asked if I could fix that, and it was all CO2 laser done poorly. So there's a risk.
Again, if people would like to reach you at the office, how do they go about doing that?
Telephone number is 208-933-4400 or 4400. And website is trippfamilymedicine.com. And you can also reach us on Facebook or make comments for us or like us on Facebook at Tripp Family Medicine. We'd love to hear from you. We're happy to see you for skin cancers or precancers, anything you're worried about. But also today our emphasis was treatments that you can do that will clean up your skin, make you look a little younger, have a little more fun with what you're doing without downtime.
And we want to point out, callers who didn't get through, remember, you can always reach the doctor at the office, someone there to take your telephone call, and we'll see you or Russell next week, or both.
Russell will be here to discuss treatment of diabetes.
All right, that's on the way next week. Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine, located, of course, on Fulton Street. Did I say Fulton? Fillmore.
Yeah, Fillmore.
Fulton was a steamship guy. Yes.
That's right.
And there aren't many of those around here.
Fillmore across from the post office.
There you go. We have Rebecca Bilsoika coming up from the Twin Falls City Council in just a few minutes. You're listening to Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX, 8:59, 49 at our studios. Fox News is next at 9 o'clock.